And we're live. Yes, there is a show today, people. Surprise! It is Friday, December 26th, Boxing Day. And to celebrate Boxing Day, I have boxes. The year of our Lord 2025. It is 8 o'clock a.m. And folks, we are here to celebrate Boxing Day in so many different ways. First of all, because it is Boxing Day. Secondly, because I'm surrounded by a pile of boxes. Third, because Mike Feinberg is a former boxer. And fourth, because Mike's house is about to be turned into a pile of boxes because this is the last show you will ever see from Mike's current house in the undisclosed location in the Hampton Roads area or the Tidewater area of Virginia. The next time you see Mike on the show, it will be in an undisclosed location in the Washington, D.C. area. So we have so many different styles of Boxing Day that we are talking about. The sun is shining because it's Miami, Florida, and the sun is always shining here. The birds are chirping. It's going to be a great fucking day. And you are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is a goddamn revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features is that we celebrate uh, Boxing Day in all its iterations. And another one of the revolutionary features is that every now and then during the week where we are going to randomly do shows or not, sometimes I get up meaning to do a show and then realize it's already 8:30 and the show is halfway done. And so I'm like, well, there's not going to be a show today. And sometimes, like today, I get up fully intending not to do a show, but then realize that everybody else is asleep and it's, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to drink my coffee and I'm going to be bored by 8 o'clock. And so I send out a call, who's going to join me for the show? And somebody says, in this case, Mike, I'm going to do it. So we have a show kind of unexpectedly, and the audience doesn't know it's going to happen. And even I don't really know it's going to happen, but it does. And that is a long-winded way of saying that we are not allowed to have fun anymore, but we are allowed to have the last show ever, the Boxing Day show from Shay Feinberg. Mike, are you excited about all the packing you have to do?
No, no, not at all. One of the benefits of having been a government employee is that all my moves were pursuant to official orders, which meant that the government took care of it all. They actually subcontracted out to a relocation company, and everything from finding a realtor to getting a mortgage to packing up your place, it was all taken care of by somebody else. So at the young age of 48, I am discovering the joy of doing this all myself. And I am doing it with a newborn, with a wife who is in her busiest season of the work year, and not really knowing anybody in the area. So I will be glad when this is over.
And when the here's the question that I think everybody in the audience wants to know the answer to. What is your background going to look like in the new place? Is there a new spot in the new house with a giant wall like this that you can line up books and memorabilia and stuff?
So there is one of the bedrooms will be my office, and it's not going to be the exact same. There is a wall that is going to be just lined with books, but it's not big enough to contain all the books.
There's an
So,
interesting question in the chat. Somebody asks whether there will be severed heads in the background.
um, I am very sad to admit that as part of this move, I have actually gotten rid of some scary decorations. Um, and my wife, I have, I, this is going to be a longer answer than you expected. Um, Everything is coming with in terms of severed heads. I don't know where they're going to be in the new house. For the sake of my marriage, they may be in storage for the entire year, save for the first week to the last week of October. Um, we've gotten rid of some animatronics in the interest of space. I obviously, as nobody will be surprised, already planned out what the yard is going to look like for Halloween, and just some stuff doesn't fit
That's
naturally. We're going to have
important to do in December.
it's important to do year round. And so
But I have a serious question, Mike, because it
yeah,
seems to me that you need your MSNBC wall,
I do.
which needs to look very professional and everything.
Yes,
But then it seems to me you also need your dog shirt TV wall,
yes.
which should have some severed heads. And I wonder if there's a corner in the room where, one wall leading to the corner can be MSNBC and the other wall can be Dog Shirt TV, and you can have like your split personality there.
It's possible, but I'm actually going to be switching to a desktop computer from the laptop I currently have when we move. Um,
Right, but
so
that makes it easier because you can have a a a camera that, you know, on a little tripod that moves.
I was just going to use the internal camera. But look, I'm open to experimentation once we
I
see
think
how this
I think
shakes
you
out.
have to figure out a way for the severed heads to show up on camera. I think
Well,
you're
the
missing
separate
an
heads are easy.
opportunity if there are no severed heads.
They're mobile. I mean, like it's easy to put in a drawer and remove and replace pretty regularly. The severed heads aren't what caused the problem with my wife. What caused the problem with my wife is a series of smaller animatronics, roughly the size of a baby, um, for which I would occasionally swap out my son in the crib when she wasn't looking. Um, and there is one in particular that just creeps her the fuck out.
Well, I think that is uh, going to be a memorable clip sometime when you are dragged up in front of Congress to testify about something, and Jim Jordan plays the clip of you saying, a smaller animatronic that I used to sometimes swap out for my baby, and um, and asks you to explain it. Um,
Well, look, I mean, Jim Jordan, from what I hear, is very familiar with smaller bodies being abused. So
Correct.
yeah.
Um, all right, so let's talk about Boxing Day. Have
Yeah.
you ever actually celebrated Boxing Day?
Um, like in terms of the traditional Anglospheric, no, I don't even know what it is for. I no.
I find Boxing Day to be mysterious. It seems to have no yes, John Hawkinson points out that it is about giving boxes of gifts to the staff.
We
Um
don't have
uh
staff. No, it's
Correct. Yeah, it's a little issue. But I think uh the larger point is that it is now a tradition. It's like a holiday with no ritual associated with it,
yeah.
except like I think it's sort of a shopping day. And
So it's
so
like Black Friday for the rest of the Five Eyes.
I think so, but I
Okay.
don't know. I mean, none of our Canadians showed up today because they were, you know, flat out drunk for because it's Boxing Day, and so they, So nobody can explain to us. If anybody can explain, how you observe Boxing Day other than by sitting around with a lot of boxes or by packing boxes, or by having movers pack boxes. But Mike, you are a former boxer.
I am.
Um, and so let's talk about that kind of boxing.
Actually,
Um,
the only thing up on my wall right now in this office that has not been taken down are three classic autographed boxing things. I have
how did you get into boxing?
um man, there is no way to do this without getting into like some deep-seated psychoanalysis that probably nobody wants to go through, but I think in my younger years, you know me in person. I don't think any of the Greek chorus does. For somebody who has chosen the paths I have chosen in life, I'm fairly diminutive, and
Yeah,
like
you're
I
even shorter than I am.
probably yeah. And I think just I probably had something to prove, as immature as that sounds, when I was a youngster, and I also everybody does know how much I love film. I have had a soft spot since I was a kid for boxing movies. And when you combine that with having sort of something to prove, it's something I fell into.
So how
Um,
old were you when you took it up?
older, college. So I very much wanted to do it when I was younger, and my parents, understandably, were very much of the no fucking way are you doing a sport where getting punched in the face is a regular part of the training. Um, so it wasn't until I went to college where one of my fraternity brothers was had been a Golden Gloves boxer. He taught me the basics, and then when I moved back to Chicago after college, I got into it seriously. I actually went to a boxing gym, formally trained. I was probably one of the oldest people to be fighting in Golden Gloves in my late 20s.
So what is Golden Gloves?
Golden Gloves is it's the most prestigious amateur tournament there is in the country. They have them in most major cities, and essentially the winner of Golden Gloves in each city gets to go to Olympic tryouts. I want to be very clear. I was good enough to fight in Golden Gloves. I was never good enough to come close to winning. Um, so, I don't want people to think I was like some sort of phenom at this sport. I was, if you were going to use professional terminology, I was a journeyman. I was somebody who could handle himself in a fight without embarrassing himself, but there was no guarantee I was going to win it at the same time.
And how
Um,
long did you do it for?
not super long. I mean, I started after I graduated college, and continued until I think I was a second year associate. So maybe like 5 to 7 years. Um, I do remember like there's two memorable ways in which it intersected with my legal career. The first is during a sparring match. I was during law school when I was a 2L, or 3L. I don't remember. 2L or 3L year. I was sparring during finals season, and I was sparring with a complete beginner, which anybody who has boxed will tell you is infinitely more dangerous than sparring with somebody who knows what they're doing. Because if you actually know what you're doing, you realize sparring, like, you should be going 20%. The point is to practice technique, practice slipping, practice counterpunching, get your footwork right when your adrenaline's flowing. It is not to kill another human being. Beginners have no idea about that. The way it was explained to me by my coach, who was on the Marine Corps boxing team, he wasn't like, he was a tough guy. He's like, when you're sparring, the amount of force you use should be as if you were wiping a speck of dust off of somebody's nose. But anyway, I'm sparring with a complete beginner. He goes hog wild. I get a concussion, and I have to go to the dean of the law school and explain why I can't take finals that week.
And did
Um,
they, was that an acceptable excuse?
it was so fucking weird for her that I got a combination of an exacerbated excuse from taking him that week and a very stern talking to about what an idiot I was for doing this. Um, so Teresa Cropper, former dean of students of Northwestern Law School, if you are listening, your words did not sink in because about 3 years later, I showed up to court with a broken nose and a black eye and had to explain to an Illinois chancery judge what had happened. And I'm not going to say the judge's name. He had a reputation for not being pleasant. And he did not exhibit the same good humor that my dean of law students did. So I think
So
that was when I stopped competing, at least. We still had to do a ton at the FBI Academy.
interesting. And so when did you stop entirely?
Um, I mean, I stopped competing after Golden Gloves probably 2007. But then I started at the FBI Academy in 2009, and boxing is very much part of the curriculum there, in terms of the defensive tactics class.
And why? When I think of like the kind of hand-to-hand combat that an FBI agent might have to do, the sort of stylized combat of boxing doesn't strike me as all that relevant to it. What is it training to that is
Well,
useful for an FBI agent?
so this we could have a longer discussion about this, which will end in mocking Cash Patel, and it would not actually be inappropriate this time. But the reason you teach boxing is FBI agents do need to know how to take a punch and keep their cool. And the only way to do that is to take a punch, and that's what boxing teaches you.
Right.
So it's not that you're learning to be a boxer, it's that you are learning what it is like, you know, a 2 minute round of Golden Gloves. And I have experience in both of these things. Like a 2 minute round of Golden Gloves wore me out more physically, emotionally, mentally than running the Chicago Marathon ever did. It's something you just don't know until you've done it. And you need to experience that if you're ever going to be in a fight so you know what to expect. And boxing is just a good way to get that across very quickly. We did a lot of other types of hand to hand combat that was more taught for specific applications.
Right.
Um, but there really is, like, you just need to know how to be in a fight, and that's what boxing essentially is.
That's interesting. I second your uh I did taekwondo for a long
Yeah,
time, and taekwondo matches are the most grueling thing.
yeah,
A round of that where there's a kind of combination of hyper awareness, adrenaline, and um, and constant motion that is unlike any other exercise I have ever done.
yeah.
Not that
It's
I've ever run the Chicago Marathon,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's really something.
Yeah, I loved it. I live in fear that my son will try the sports I did when I was a kid or younger
What were
because
the other ones?
I was a competitive gymnast. Like basically, so I did one thing which guaranteed my joints would be fucked for life. Um, and I did another that, like, has the real potential of causing brain damage. When I was when I was younger, in my late 20s and 30s, I thought if I always had a kid, I would want to teach him how to box, how to fight. Now that I actually do, It's not really high on my list of priorities.
Yeah, you know, go with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's
We did a lot so when I made reference
less
to
potential for head injuries.
yeah, and we did a lot of that stuff at the academy. There was a lot of ground fighting just because it's actually more quantitatively based than you would think how they do the curriculum, but like there's an entire unit at the academy that actually studies fights agents have been in, and one of the things they found was that the overwhelming majority of fights go to the ground.
Right.
You're
And they
not
go to the ground and they go to the ground quickly.
quickly. So the majority of what we did was actually various forms of ground fighting.
Yeah, so that is actually a so having for reasons spent a lot of time thinking about, fights with heads of state and stuff. I have uh if you watch fights, they almost all go to the ground and they go to
Yeah.
the ground fast.
Yep.
And the person who prevails is almost always the person who prevails on the ground.
Yep.
And so it's a good rule of thumb if you get into a fight, be the one who takes it to the ground and control it on the ground.
So I'll say,
Um,
I will say this. The goal of what they trained us for was never to win the fight. And this is why the whole I have an entire chapter about this in the book proposal. This is why the whole idea of bringing UFC in to train FBI agents was just unbelievably fucking stupid. The goal is not to get, if you're an FBI agent, the goal is not to get your opponent to submit. Like, if I get somebody in a chokehold or a pin, like, what does that get me? I can't kill them with a choke. Like, I'm not going to. Um, the whole point, incapacitate them momentarily to get enough distance where you could draw your weapon. Because then once you draw your weapon and you're separate, you just default to normal arrest procedures.
right, but
Um,
that's not very practical for people who are not entitled to carry guns,
no,
and
I know, but
for
what
people.
I'm saying is this is why it was so stupid to talk about bringing in UFC to train FBI agents.
Right.
Like the goals are fundamentally different.
Also, another reason it's really stupid is that the average FBI agent um, is not doing a lot of fighting.
No,
Um,
I never
and
got into a fight in my entire career. Like you
and
train for the worst case scenario, but it usually doesn't
right,
happen.
but the worst case scenario is never a cage fight,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
the With an audience and with Cash Patel and his girlfriend sitting there in ringside.
Next to
Um,
Mel Gibson, inevitably. Yeah.
right. All right, so let's talk about a different type of Boxing Day. We've covered boxing and we've covered uh, um, so the stuff in back of you is going to be boxed up tomorrow,
Monday morning. Monday morning.
Monday morning.
Yeah.
And then you are going to be, so I've run out of different types of Boxing Days now.
We could do a reminder that we will be auctioning some boxing memorabilia for
Oh,
Lawfare.
that's right.
Um,
When is that
that,
happening?
um, I have sent descriptions and suggested price points to the person who will be running it. For some reason, the photographs I sent did not come through, so I will find an alternate way to get those to him. But yeah, I've decided. I mean, like, look, we're not talking. There is only one real big ticket item. Everything else is eminently affordable, and I don't know how much it would even bring in. Um, there are
Well, we're
only there are three pieces in my collection which are here with me now that I'm going to keep for myself, but that's it.
Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
All right. So, folks, if you have Boxing Day thoughts, if you've prepared little boxes of gifts for your household staff, um, if you've uh, given a right hook to a UFC fighter who was training you to be an FBI agent. Uh, Jump on screen and give us your Boxing Day thoughts.
We did
Uh,
have a question in the comments about what the best boxing film ever is.
Ooh, that's a really
I
interesting
have
question.
there are three that come to mind for me. Um, and I think only one of them really enters the pantheon. So I think
All right.
people are not going to be aware of some of them.
So can we start with On the Waterfront?
That wasn't in my top. Yeah, I mean,
I
yes.
mean,
I mean, Terry Malloy is a boxer,
right.
and
Um, and what about uh Raging Bull?
Raging Bull is one of my all-time favorite films, and easily in my top ranks of boxing movies. Actually, I'm gonna pull in a prop to answer that
All
question.
right.
Hang on one second. Yeah. So the two highlights of my collection, which I'm keeping, one is an autograph by Jake LaMotta, famously knocking Sugar Ray Robinson out of the ring, which was portrayed in the film,
Right.
and a ticket stub from that fight. Which,
Wow.
yeah, and then the other is because I do think he was the best pound for pound boxer of all time. This is incredibly rare, an actual autograph by Sugar Ray Robinson. Um, Jake LaMotta was not, shall we say, fiscally responsible, and
Kind
so
of
he
destroyed himself.
he destroyed himself. So he, to make money, autographed things left and right. Um, it's not hard to find a good quality autograph of his. The ticket stub took a couple of years to find. But an autograph by Jake LaMotta, like you could hop on eBay or even Amazon and get one today. Um, the Sugar Ray Robinson one took years to find. He just did not do as many. And finding one that was in the price point I wanted and of a photograph I found aesthetically pleasing was not easily done.
So what are your other boxing movie favorites?
So there was a
Rocky is
movie.
a pretty great movie.
So Rocky actually, if I did a top five, Rocky would be number five. I really love it, but in
Yeah.
terms of like the aesthetics of film, number two would be a little seen Daniel Day-Lewis movie before he became incredibly famous, about the Irish Troubles called The Boxer. And
I have
boxing
not
plays,
seen that.
it's great. Really, really good. And then number three, I'm really torn between two classics, both of which I heard about through interviews with Scorsese, who praised them to the skies. The first is Body and Soul with John Garfield, which is very much like a typical come from behind, redeem yourself type boxing story. But the other is a film noir called The Setup, which is in real time. The movie takes place during a boxing match, and the boxing match is the duration of time of the movie, and they keep cutting back and forth to it.
So
And
it's in real Greek time.
exactly, yeah. Those are both great, and then we'll give an honorable mention just because I think Rod Serling is one of the most brilliant writers to ever grace film and television. He did a television play of Requiem for a Heavyweight that is also phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any other boxing movie gems. I am always impressed when I see Rocky again at how well it ages.
Well, the
Um,
the amazing thing about Rocky, and this like I don't know why people don't remember this because it's almost the point. Like he doesn't win.
correct.
Like it's one of the most triumphant boxing movies ever made, and he loses the fight. Like it's actually like the first Rocky has been overshadowed by the cartoonishness of the
By the
sequel. But like,
franchise, yeah.
yeah, but it's actually just like a slice of life working class drama where the hero doesn't win. It's amazing. Like it's a great movie.
Um, I am getting texts now from the
Yes.
estimable Eve Gaman, who should be, uh, if she's listening, not texting the Dog Shirt TV list during the show, but should
Yeah,
be
she should
coming
just be
on.
hopping on.
You should be hopping on. Text her and tell her that, and making this point, whatever the point is. It's some Ontario
Yeah.
parliamentary procedure point. But these should be being made on the show. And um, particularly from Canadians on Boxing Day,
Mhm.
you should be. Ev, you should be on the show right now making this point. Hearken to my voice. All right,
Can I
let's.
make can I make one more a joint artistic recommendation for boxing is if people haven't seen it, there is another great movie. It might have been one of Jeff Bridges' first movies, um, called Fat City, which John Huston directed. That is a phenomenal film worth seeing, and I think the New York Review of Books republished it in a print edition, the novel on which it's based. So that's another one people can check
Oh,
out.
I have a great boxing movie that everybody should watch that is actually a documentary. When We Were
It's
Kings.
downstairs. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which is When We Were Kings is an incredible movie. I forget who made it, about the Rumble in the Jungle, which was, of course, the 1973 or 4 fight between Ali and Frazier in Manila. Sorry,
Zaire.
in Zaire, and it's uh, uh, it's an incredible movie, and they dug up just incredible footage of Ali. It's mostly of Ali, actually,
Yeah.
when he was young and incredibly charismatic. And But there's also just fabulous footage of B.B. King playing
James
guitar,
Brown.
James
Yeah.
Brown, all of whom descended on Kinshasa for this fight, as well as Norman Mailer and
George Plimpton.
George Plimpton, right, who show up to cover the fight. And they just assemble this in this beautiful narrative fashion. You don't have to be interested in boxing at all, actually, to find it mesmerizing. I've watched it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and I think it is one of the great storytelling documentaries I've ever seen on any subject, including down to the most wonderful score, which is almost all done with live music that was played on in the context of the group of people around Ali as he was getting ready for the fight. It's a really it's not what people think of when they think of a boxing movie, but it is really, really worth your time.
We we'll be auctioning two pieces of memorabilia adjacent to When We Were Kings, if you want me to foreshadow them.
Absolutely.
So we do have a Joe Frazier autographed print, an 8x10 black and white photograph he signed of him fighting Ali. And this one's a little more attenuated, but George Plimpton, the founder of the Paris Review, who was at the Rumble in the Jungle, wrote what is one of the best nonfiction books about boxing, a book called Shadow Box. And its centerpiece is he trains and then fights Archie Moore and writes about it. Archie Moore was a professional boxer who was one of the greats of his era, roughly pre Ali. And we have an autographed photograph of Archie Moore as well.
Very cool. Well, so yeah, I actually think if you're When We Were Kings is almost more mesmerizing if you're not into boxing than if you are, because if you're into boxing, you know, Ali is already a larger than life figure. He's and you're kind of familiar with him. But if you're not into boxing and you're like, I came to it as somebody who was kind of repulsed by boxing um and it's this entry place to this incredibly intense and rich world that is it has music associated with it, it has politics associated with it, it has these famous writers and editors who are mesmerized by it. It has this very rich world that's attached to it that you kind of don't associate with boxing necessarily. And I found it just a amazing portrait of a whole world,
Mhm.
plus a um, overlaid with um, the weird world of a totalitarian dictatorship because it
Yes.
takes place in Mobutu Sese Seko's Zaire,
Yeah.
and he shows up with his goat head staff and his. It's a little has the air of a Kim Jong Un hosting a sporting event thing. Um, it's it's an amazing film.
It is. And, you know, Ali is just an interesting character because when I was training, I used to watch old fights all the time. You know, the same way that like somebody learning to paint would go to an art museum. Um, I was told not to watch Ali fights because part of the reason he was so great is he would do things that you're just not supposed to do, and he was the only person who could get away with them,
Well, and that fight is a classic example of that, right? Go 8 or 9 rounds just
and do
taking
nothing. Yes,
taking a beating and really doing very little except trying to stay on your feet with the
yes,
idea that you're going to exhaust the other guy, and then you come out and I forget which round it was, the 10th round or something,
yeah,
and throw one punch and the fight is over.
yeah.
And
It's
and
amazing.
and you develop early Parkinson's as a result of it.
Right, and most fight doctors do think that his Parkinson's is a direct result of that fight. But it's the famous thing is he used to lean away from punches. Like somebody would punch and he would be quick enough to just step back or lean back and avoid the punch, and like that is the exact opposite of what you are trained to do. But he got away with it
And
in a
just
way that is
for those who doesn't don't for that whom that doesn't sound intuitive, in most fighting sports, when somebody throws a punch at you, you lean slightly in and slip away, slip
Yes.
down and into it. But the slip is usually in toward the punch, never away from it, because if you move away, you give the person time with the other fist to hit you um, a second time.
Yeah, and it's also a question of physics. Force is mass and speed, and the longer that punch travels, the faster it can become.
Right. All right. Wow, we've been going 40 minutes on the subject of boxing, but not Boxing Day. And we have not exhausted subject. Other Boxing Day questions, thoughts, screams of protest, howls of rage, cries of agony, cri de coeur. Wow. Um, all right. Um,
I can make fun of myself in a way that has to do with boxing and
all
my
right,
move.
let's do it.
About it.
And then I will do the same.
Yeah, so my books, as we've talked about, are pretty fastidiously organized. Um,
No shit.
are you being serious? Yeah. No. Like, my fiction is arranged by chronological date of the author's birth. Um, so right now, it starts with Gilgamesh and goes up to Nausgard. Um, and all my books, I only buy hardcovers. They're in Mylar protected wrappings. The nonfiction is organized just as fastidiously. And I had to spend about an hour yesterday doing a videotape shelf by shelf of how I have them organized. This is making me sound like a lunatic.
Only
Because
mildly.
I didn't do that last time I moved, and it took hours to look up authors' dates of birth and reorganize them in the fashion I wanted.
But I have
Um,
a stupid question, Mike. If you
yeah,
don't know the author's date of birth,
yeah,
why does the organization help you? Is it
because
just a clinical symptom or does it
no,
serve
no,
some
it's
purpose?
it's not OCD. I think if you're a real reader, like somebody for whom it is an integral part of your life, you don't just read an individual book. You read it in the context of what came before and after, what it was responding to, what other people's reactions were. And so I reread books a lot that I've read before, and I like having a visual reminder of the context in which it was written.
Right, but if you don't know the dates of birth of the authors before, current, or after, how does knowing that book B goes between book A and C help you situate them?
Well, I have a vague idea. Like, I know if somebody, I mean, even like I have a couple shelves devoted to Shakespeare and his contemporaries, and I do know which ones were writing during King James's era after Elizabeth versus those who were writing primarily during Elizabeth. It's just, um, where John Webster falls in comparison to Shakespeare's later works or Christopher Marlowe's final works. Like, I have the generalities memorized. I just don't have the specifics.
Gotcha. My system of book organization on my shelves is a little bit cruder. It's is there space?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then there's a pile on the floor um, that's roughly chronological by acquisition of the book by me, because the more recent books are higher up on the pile on the floor. that's the my that's my system of bookshelf organization. But it makes for much easier moves. Not that I
Yeah.
move ever, but because you just throw them in a box and take them out.
We're gonna have a real problem in that my wife has just as many books as me. I mean, she did a doctorate and still has everything from that era. And she's always kept her books at the office, but her employment in DC is still an open question. We're waiting to hear back from a few places. So like we're gonna have a lot of fucking books in our house until that gets sorted out. Like the number of books we have vastly outstrips the square footage of shelving.
Well, the good news is building in shelving is very easy.
Well,
Um,
and along those lines, I recently got my wife's permission to spend all of our Amazon points on whatever fit my fancy. So I bought two things.
Animatronic heads.
No. This I got the complete works of W.H. Auden, which have relatively recently been republished by Princeton University Press, and I bought all the power tools I ever wanted. I have multiple cordless electric saws. I have, you know, there's a lot of stuff. I have an impact driver now. Just a lot of stuff I've always wanted. And part of the reason is I was very into woodworking when I was a kid, and I'd like to get back into it.
Yeah,
So building
speaking of
shelves
which,
is
ask
stuff.
me what my project for next week is.
What's your project for next week? And I have
I'm
a
build
follow up question related to that
I'm building a staircase.
for the cabin in the woods.
Yes, the last major project at the cabin in the woods is ripping out a staircase and building a new one. And I'm doing this one entirely um, with out of um, layered plywood. I'm very excited about it.
Nice.
And I will document it. I'm going to spend the week at the cabin. I'm going to do about half lawfare work and about half cabin work.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing the show every day, guys. Next week, the show is back to regular schedule, which is to say 8 a.m. Um, Eastern Standard Time every day, but it'll be from the cabin in the woods. And it's going to be, remember the last time we did the show from the cabin in the woods, uh, the baby cannon destroyed my computer. That's not going to happen again. But we are going to be at the cabin in the woods. It's going to be fabulous, and you will see the development of the staircase over the course of the day of over the course of the week.
We are my first project, and it's probably not going to happen for a month or two, but I need to. We have a curving staircase in the new house, and
Curving in what way?
um at a right angle, but it has a landing half third of the way up, and given that we have a newborn who is going to learn to walk at some point, right now it's just hardwood. I need to get a custom made runner and install that, just to make it a little bit easier. So that is one project, and then the other project I'm taking on, if anybody in the Greek chorus has experience in, hit me up. But when I was a little kid, one of my friends in his playroom had a really elaborate train set that went around the entire perimeter of the room. And I think you and I have talked about this, but I fucking love trains.
Yeah.
Like I like taking overnight trips on Amtrak. So I think I'm going to get into model railroading to build something for my kid as he
Well,
grows
you'll
up.
be pleased to know that merging several of your interests, there is a shop not far from your new house that the upstairs is all model railroads and the downstairs is guns. Um,
You're fucking kidding me.
nope.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah. Um, it's in Kensington.
Okay.
It's the most improbable store in
What's it called?
Washington. I don't know,
All right, I'll
but I
find it.
know
I
where
mean,
it is. Um,
yeah. I
and
spent
it's
yesterday modifying some weapons to make them legal for the new jurisdiction in which I'm going to live.
well, yeah. I find this store. I used to patronize it for model railroad purposes, never for gun purposes. But it is it reflects the passions of the owner.
I he or she sounds like somebody I would like. So
John Hawkinson, what is on your mind this morning? And is it Boxing Day related in any of Boxing Day's many forms?
Sure, to the extent that building stairs is basically the art of building boxes, but souped up to the max. I'll note I did cheat to come on because the request button didn't seem to be working. So I don't know if there are
You
other.
know, when I run the show off of my phone, the request button doesn't always work, but you are
Oh,
always welcome to cheat.
well, thank you. No, I didn't realize you were on your phone. You were monitoring the chat, which suggested otherwise. Well, I just wanted to note a couple things. First, Ben, you know that it's generally considered in carpentry that stairs are the hardest thing possible.
Uh, I didn't know that, but
That's my
I am excited about this staircase. I have a concept for it and a plan, and it's going to require very careful work, and it's going to require, I think, literally hundreds of pieces. Um, but I am confident that it will work and that I can do it with only three tools.
I hope
Um,
one of them is a level.
Uh, yeah, I don't count the level
Okay.
because, but the three tools are a uh a table saw, a band saw, and a drill, and that's all we're going to use to build this thing. And I'm going to document it on Dogshirt Daily, and it is going to be everybody's going to be super impressed.
I don't have a lot of experience with stairs. I will say for the first time this year I did rebuild okay, the second time I rebuilt a single stair, as in, one tread, one riser. Uh, and it went okay, but it was trickier than expected. So I imagine you're going to run into all manner of excitement that will provide great fodder for Dog Shirt TV episodes.
I
Uh,
am excited about it, and I'm going to, um, I have done many things in the cabin in the woods. I have rebuilt two bathrooms. I have done the floor with Canadian hardwoods of the upstairs. I have put in a new wood stove and done the tiling around that hearth. And the last major piece of work that remains to be done, other than a whole lot of grout removal, is this staircase. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to finish it. And I am going to unapologetically triumph over my enemies.
I do think, well, the pros would tell you that they would use a nail gun, and it's a lot faster. I don't think there's anything wrong with using screws, and possibly some advantages. Uh, I did also feel like I should come on when trains got mentioned. I'm not quite sure where we are on the trolley problem train project. I don't know if Mike is even aware of this.
Are you suggesting that I make the model train set to have civilians that you could throw in front of
Well,
the train to teach my son moral philosophy?
I am not, because Ben had committed, I'm going to construe as a commitment to building a scale model trolley problem train set. And you could build one too. And in fact, maybe yours would go faster. Um, and I'm not quite sure where we are on that project. It seems to have been like it couldn't possibly have been
Derailed, one
more.
might say. Um, you
It
know,
couldn't possibly have been deprioritized. I know that's not the case.
John, I am going to make this happen. The trolley problem, the train trolley problem needs to, the realization of it needs to happen. And for you, it is going to happen.
Well,
Ben,
excellent.
if you want to combine forces, I'm happy to work this into the one I build.
Mike, I would
I
like to
think,
pit you against each other as a race to build the first one or the best one.
No, I already know what theme my train set is going to
What
be.
scale is it?
I'm gonna do N, I think.
N is
Maybe
little.
it's little, maybe HO. Um,
HO is better, particularly for a child.
well, it depends what size. I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on how much space I can commandeer for this.
I thought Ben had committed to N scale, so
Well, N scale, yeah, N scale for my trolley problem, but I'm not trying to entertain a newborn.
I just I feel like you could do a lot more with creating the entire world in N scale. Um, you could use something the size of a hollow core door, although I do hope to go bigger, and really have something elaborate with N. It gets a little bit trickier the bigger you get.
Yeah, I just warn you at the N scale, there is no way a small child can rail the cars,
Really? All
even
right.
yeah, I mean you're talking about a degree of manual dexterity that you kind of need to be an
An
8-year-old or
adult.
a 9-year-old before
All
you're going
right.
to
Could
be
I get
able
away
to
with HO? Like, I know nothing about this hobby, so.
um I don't, well, it depends at what age you're talking about.
Okay.
Um, but if it's for you to entertain him, then you can do it at whatever size.
Well, look, here's how I'm viewing this. I am very much of the parenting philosophy. His interests will be his interests, not mine. Um, you know, if he decides he's really into sports, which is something I never was, I will learn about baseball. Um, but until that happens, he is an excuse for me to do all the childlike things that otherwise would not be normal for somebody approaching 50.
I
And
think
one of those
that's
is model train.
exactly right. And that is why we have Boxing Day, because in all those boxes, there are the childlike things that you didn't do when you were a child. I was an obsessive model train guy. And when I was a small child, I once found my uncle's HO trains that
No
had
kidding.
been packed away in my grandparents' house and were uh, um, uh, and I brought them home and it greatly expanded my HO set,
Mhm.
which continued to grow. I love model trains. I still love model trains. And it was a matter of some heartbreak to me that neither of my children were particularly into model trains. Folks, we're going to be back on Monday, and we will be back uh, at the normal time. It'll be the normal kind of show, which is to say, altogether abnormal. It will not be Boxing Day. We're going to run straight through next week. There's going to be, a New Year's Day show. It's going to be just, like it was a normal week, except that I will be at the cabin in the woods for much of it. Um, I don't know who the co-hosts are going to be. I don't know who the guests are going to be. I suspect John Hawkinson will be there. Mike Feinberg will be moving, so I'm assuming he will not be there, although he may show up because he may wake up in a hotel room some morning and think he's got nothing better to do than to show up. You never know. But you'll be there, and I'll be there, and it's going to be a freaking blast.